Look at your hand. I want you to make a simple choice. Raise your index finger or raise your middle finger. Do it right now. You felt that, didn't you? The sensation of free will, the conscious deliberation. The moment you, the author of your actions, decided which muscle to contract and then sent the command down your arm. It feels absolute. It feels like the most undeniable proof that you are in charge. But neurobiology has a different story. If you were hooked up to an fMRI machine right now, watching the electrical storms inside your skull, the data would show something deeply unsettling. Your brain decided which finger to move long before you did, up to 7 seconds before you were even consciously aware of making a choice.
There are
a
no
spike
exits
in your
tonight.
brain's readiness potential had already locked in the decision. You didn't make a choice.
Maintain your speed.
You just experienced the
There
echo
are
of a
no
choice
exits
that was
tonight.
already made. Your brain is lying to you. Right now, about almost everything. We live our entire lives under the assumption that consciousness is the driver of the car. We believe that our waking, thinking, rational self is the one looking out through our eyes, processing the world, making the decisions, and steering the ship through the chaos of existence. But consciousness is not the driver. Consciousness is a passenger in the back seat, holding a plastic steering wheel, convinced that it's driving the car. It is a public relations department. Its only job is to receive decisions that have already been finalized by a hidden, high-speed processor in the dark, and then draft a press release explaining why you supposedly made that choice. You are not the author of your thoughts. You are just reading a book that is being written for you in real time, one chapter at a time, completely unaware of who is actually holding the pen. But if you aren't the one making the choices, who is? Let's talk about reality, or rather the tiny compressed sliver of reality you are currently allowed to perceive. At this exact second, your nervous system is being bombarded by approximately 11 million bits of sensory information. The temperature of the air against your skin, the ambient hum of the electrical wiring in your walls, the pressure of the chair beneath you, the precise wavelength of light hitting your retinas, the complex geometry of the room you are sitting in. If your conscious mind had to process 11 million bits of data per second, it would collapse instantly. The sheer volume of raw reality is blinding. It is a deafening static. So your brain protects you. It utilizes a bundle of nerves at the base of your brainstem called the Reticular Activating System, the RAS. The RAS is the ultimate gatekeeper. Out of those 11 million bits of raw data, the RAS aggressively deletes almost all of it. It filters, compresses, and cuts away the excess, feeding your conscious mind a pathetic 40 to 50 bits of information per second. You do not see the world as it is. You see a highly curated, heavily edited summary of the world, a hallucination built from a fraction of a percent of actual reality. But here is the terrifying part. How does the gatekeeper know what to keep and what to throw away? The Reticular Activating System is not objective. It has no interest in truth. It operates entirely based on the parameters it has been programmed with. And what is the code? Your core beliefs. Your deepest, most entrenched subconscious patterns. If you fundamentally believe that the world is hostile, your RAS will actively scan those 11 million bits of data for evidence of hostility. It will delete the smiles, ignore the opportunities, and highlight the insults, dangers, rejections. It will construct a reality that perfectly matches your programming. If you are looking for red cars, you will suddenly see red cars everywhere. The universe magically manifested more red cars, but because your high-speed processor was instructed to stop deleting the visual feed. This brings us to the concept of luck. This romantic, almost superstitious idea of luck. We view it as a roll of the cosmic dice, a random distribution of fortune and tragedy. Some people are just lucky.
I must keep track.
The universe just favors them. But luck is not a mystical force. Luck is a biological mechanic.
I must keep track.
A selective attention operating at a speed not comprehend. Consider a moment of profound serendipity.
I must keep track.
Walking down the street, and for some inexplicable reason, you decide to turn down an alley you have never walked down before. And there, you run into someone who changes the trajectory of your entire life. You get a job offer. You find a partner. You discover an answer. Consciously, you call this fate. You call it a miracle. And subconsciously,
your brain has been tracking micro-expressions, environmental cues, and statistical probabilities for years. It noticed a shift in the wind, a subtle change in the lighting, a pattern in the crowd. Your subconscious is a supercomputer that recognizes complex variables before your conscious mind can even register the first syllable of a thought. It calculated the trajectory. It saw the opening. And it simply pushed a biological button to make your legs turn left. You didn't get lucky. You just weren't consciously aware of the math your brain was doing in the background. This is how reality is built. Every algorithm requires engagement to know what to feed you next. Your brain is no different. If you want to train your algorithm, you have to signal to the processor what holds value. You are doing it right now. By focusing on this video, by letting these concepts bypass your immediate defenses, you're telling your RAS to prioritize this frequency of thought. If you simply watch and move on, it fades back into the static. If you choose to leave a trace, if you subscribe to this exact channel of inquiry, if you physically interact with it, you encode it. You tell the machine, keep this. I want to see more of this. You're actively programming the code of your future perception. But if your subconscious is doing all the heavy lifting, if it is making the decisions, calculating the probabilities, and writing the script of your life, then who is the you that is listening to my voice right now?
And it always comes back to
me. To understand the lie of consciousness, we have to look at the split brain experiments of the 1960s.
To the door. And it always comes back to me.
Michael Gazzaniga worked with patients who had their corpus callosum severed.
It goes from the anxiety to
the bridge between the left and right hemispheres of their brains was cut, usually to prevent severe seizures. This created a unique condition: two separate processing centers operating independently inside one skull. The left hemisphere controls language and logic. The right hemisphere controls spatial awareness and visual processing, but it is mute. Gazzaniga would show an image to the patient's right eye, let's say a picture of a snowy winter scene. The left hemisphere, the one with language, would see it. Then, he would ask the patient to pick a related card from a deck, and their right hand would pick a picture of a snow shovel. Makes perfect sense. But then, he would show an image exclusively to the left eye, feeding it only to the mute right hemisphere. Let's say, a picture of a chicken claw. He would ask the patient to pick a card using their left hand. The hand would reach out and grab a picture of a chicken. Here is where reality breaks. Gazzaniga would then ask the patient's conscious, speaking left hemisphere, why did your left hand just pick up a picture of a chicken? Now, the left hemisphere didn't see the chicken claw. It had no idea why the hand moved. The mute right brain made the decision based on information the left brain didn't have. But the patient wouldn't say, I don't know. Instead, the left hemisphere would immediately, seamlessly invent a lie. It would say, oh well, the snow shovel is for cleaning out the chicken coop. It confabulated. It completely fabricated a logical narrative to explain an action it did not initiate and did not understand. And the terrifying part? The patient believed it. Completely. They had no idea they were lying. Gazzaniga called this the interpreter module of the brain. And you have one too. You're doing this every single day. You feel a sudden spike of anxiety, initiated by your subconscious recognizing a subtle environmental threat you didn't notice, but your conscious mind demands a reason. So your interpreter module scans the room, looks at an unfinished email, and decides, I am anxious because of work. You feel a sudden wave of attraction, or a sudden burst of anger. Your subconscious initiated the chemical cascade based on its own complex language. A language with its own grammar, its own syntax, its own rules of translation that you never explicitly learned, but are forced to speak. And your interpreter module instantly writes a story to explain it. You think you clicked like on a video because you consciously analyzed its aesthetic value and agreed with its premises. But neurobiologically, the decision was already made in the dark, driven by a resonance you can't articulate. Your conscious mind is simply writing the justification for it right now. You are a narrator who believes they are the author. This usually makes people feel small. It makes them feel like victims of their own biology, like meat machines running on predetermined rails, trapped inside a bone sphere, hallucinating a life they have no actual control over. But that is a misinterpretation of the data. The entity making the choices in the dark is still you. The supercomputer calculating the probabilities is still you. The gatekeeper filtering 11 million bits of reality to build your exact current experience is still you. You are not the victim of your life. You're the architect. You just have amnesia. Imagine an architect who designs a massive, impossible labyrinth. They spend years constructing the walls, placing the traps, engineering the hidden doors. They write the rules. They define the parameters. And then, they deliberately erase their own memory and drop themselves into the center of the maze. As they wander through the dark, they are terrified of the walls. They feel oppressed by the dead ends. They pray for a way out. They curse the cruel universe that trapped them there. They celebrate the luck of finding a clear corridor. They have completely forgotten that they built every single brick. Your subconscious is the architect. It doesn't just react to reality. It generates it. It notices the patterns. It creates the opportunities. It shapes the physical manifestation of your life based on the blueprints you handed it years ago. If you believe you're unworthy, the architect builds walls to keep you isolated, because that is the design you requested. If you believe the world is full of hidden doors, the architect will adjust the filter to show you the handles. You're entirely responsible for the reality you're experiencing right now, even the parts you hate. Especially the parts you hate. Because the high-speed processor doesn't care about your comfort. It only cares about proving your core beliefs true. It will rigorously, ruthlessly execute the code. So where does that leave the conscious mind? Where does that leave the passenger in the back seat? If you want to take control, you cannot do it by fighting the steering wheel. You do it by talking to the driver. You do it by rewriting the code. You stop viewing luck as a lottery, and you start treating it as a tuning mechanism. You start observing your own confabulations. When your interpreter module invents a story about why you are angry, or why you failed, or why someone else is to blame, you pause. You recognize it for what it is. A PR statement from a panicked bureaucrat. And you look past it. You step back into the dark. You realize that the conscious you is just the tip of an iceberg floating above the surface. But beneath the water, there is a mountain of ice moving with the currents of the deep, steering the entire structure with an intelligence that doesn't need words to understand. You're writing the story of your life, but you're not using a pen. You're using the quiet, physical machinery of your own attention, and the machine is always running. It is running right now. It is watching you watch this, and it is waiting for your next instruction. So, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Who would help me if it's not you?